Coming in at number 75 on our NHL draft rankings for 2024, the first of many visits to the U.S. National Team Development Program. We are going to be discussing centerman Christian Humphreys, who's coming off a very impressive showing at the World Under-18s.
Yep, Christian Humphreys is an intriguing prospect for sure. From Pittsburgh, 5'11", 170 pounds, plays center, shoots right. Ross, he made an interesting decision. When he was 16, he committed to Michigan State, but then he changed his mind later, decommitted, and then this is an interesting decision, decommitting from Michigan State and going to the University of Michigan. So some state rivalry right there, as I'm sure if those teams played, they won't let him forget it. But Ross, I read an article that EP did, and it mentioned why he did this switch. And he kind of reflected and said, look, I was 16 at the time. That was in 2022. I just kind of decided on them, and I hadn't really fully done my research. And I don't think he meant to say this as a knock to Michigan State.
He should just blame the pandemic.
Sure. Yeah, that's an easy blame for sure. But he more cited and wanted to kind of pump up how Michigan just wowed him with their recruitment. He talked to the coach. I'm blanking on the coach's name for, I apologize for that. But
well, it used to be Red Berenson. I know he stepped down.
No, it's not him. But he talked to the coach, and the coach really showed him all the access to video that they had. Like, he was talking to the coach, and he was like, you want to see all your ozone shifts from last year? Boom, typed his name in, put all the ozone shifts. You want to see all the face-offs you took in the neutral zone? Boom, had it all ready for them. And that really wowed Humphreys, apparently. And, you know, when you're choosing what college to go to, you want to go to a spot where you feel like ideologies match together. And he said that really seemed like a fit because he wants to be watching video, learning, using analytics to prop up his game and to find his weaknesses. So I think that's where he really wanted to make that switch. And we'll see if he ends up regretting that decision or if he thinks it was the right choice as his career goes on here.
Brandon Naurato is the name of the head coach with the University of Michigan. And so you're telling me that Christian Humphreys is a hockey nerd. And I think that's a great way to be described when you're in the prospect cycle and when you want to be able to go to the next level. Now with Christian Humphreys, I just look at Pittsburgh and the type of players that have come out of there. Vinny Trocheck and JT Miller come to mind, where it's like, these guys are pains in the ass to play against. But with Christian Humphreys, he did a lot of his damage on the score sheet this year with 52 games, 58 points, 23 goals as well, with a plus 14 rating. Now, he's one of the older players in the draft. It's worth noting that he's a February birthday, but Wheeler's high on him. Wheeler's got him up at 47 with the Athletics NHL draft rankings, where Bob McKenzie has him all the way down at 77. So I was like, okay, only 2 of our 7 entities. Now, albeit a couple of them have only put out top 32s right now, but a bit of a surprise to me that he wasn't ranked so much. So I went over to the NHL Central Scouting, and they had him at 71 among North American skaters. So they've got him past 100. Do you think there's a chance that the Ottawa Senators would have an opportunity to draft this guy in the 4th round? Do you think he lasts that long?
I mean, it's so hard to say, Ross. We're so early on into our draft rankings. I haven't really got a sense of where things are going, but just based on these rankings, it's not crazy to think that he slips through the cracks and someone's able to scoop him up later than really he should be valued at.
It's going to be outside the 1st round. That much I know for sure, but it almost feels like he could be going to a team that already has a deep prospect pool, and that he could almost just be kind of a depth, like not have any pressure on him in terms of like, hey, get to the NHL quick. I think it could be a longer path, but what a place to be at University of Michigan to be able to hone your craft and get better and try to get the offense a bit more consistency with that. And you're like, wait, what? 58 points in 52 games. I mean, he has to be providing some level of offense. He has, but the reason why he's been able to produce some offense is because he's playing with such great players as well. He's the defensive responsibility on his line for the most part. And he was even playing top line for a while at the USNTDP. And he's playing with like Like James Hagans, who's not even in this draft, he's in next year's draft, who had 102 points in 58 games. Cole Yzerman set the record for most goals overall. He had 58 this year. So even though the numbers look great, right? 58 points, 52 games, that's 7th on his own team in scoring. So it's not like he was the guy offensively. And I don't think he ever really needs to become that. I look at him a lot like I look at Sam O'Reilly, and I'm glad that these two guys are on the same stage. They're going to look to be third line defensive centers who can also contribute down low and get their teammates involved. I think one underrated part from what I'm reading about Christian Humphreys is that he makes his teammates better because of his hockey IQ. He's able to get guys in the right spots and find them in areas where they can have success. So I think he's a great complementary type prospect that a team that has deep depth would love to have in their system.
Yeah, I would agree with most of that, Ross. I feel like on a line, he's not going to be driving a line. He's going to be supporting and elevating other guys on his line, which goes along with what you were saying for sure. A lot of scouts, the first thing they mention about him that I notice is his shot. He's got a great shot. I mean, 23 goals in 52 games is pretty damn good, especially when you take into account that his teammates, especially Yzerman, is getting a lot of those finishing touches that Humphreys wouldn't really be privy to, just the way the hierarchy goes. But Ross, a knock I found on him is for a guy that's playing center, 5'11", 170 pounds. Sure, he can hang when it comes to the USHL and being on the national team development program. But as he's going to get elevated in competition levels, that size is really going to make things hard for him to battle other centermen, especially if he's playing up against top line centermen, which usually will have a little bit more size. And sure, he's got a great shot, but a lot of scouts were saying the one thing he needs to work on is finding a way to get into those soft areas of ice where he has open space and he can get a pass and use that shot. Apparently, he's not been able to find those spaces and he's not able to get into high danger scoring chances where he can really utilize that shot and finish plays. So, we're nitpicking here, but that's one thing I noticed a couple people were saying about Humphreys.
How many stars for Christian Humphreys as a potential pick for the Ottawa Senators?
I give him 3.5 stars, Ross. And my star rating is based on should the Sens draft him based on their needs and where they're picking, but also just generally what I think of the prospect overall. So I give him 3.5 stars here because I really think that these are types of players that scouts, it shows your scouting team shine when you can identify a guy that's 7th on his own team in scoring, but you're like, okay, let's zoom out here. And if you put him on a top OHL team, he's probably top 3 player there, right? Or you move him around and things can work. So those are the types of guys where not necessarily like almost like a Perot type guy, Ross. Like everyone's looking at his teammates as they should be, but then
you're talking Gabe Perot from last year?
Yes. Yeah. Everyone's looking at his teammates, like, right, like the Leonards, the was Will Smith on that team?
Yeah, it was Will Smith. That was the line, the trio.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. I'm right on track then. So everyone's looking at those guys and being like, yeah, Gabe Perot was a part of that, but he wasn't the guy. So we're not that interested in him. Where didn't he go to the Rangers at like
23 around there?
That's insane value to get a guy like that just because he's in the shadow of other elite players. So I think Humphreys is a guy that you'll see teams that have really focused scouting groups. They'll identify him as someone that they're going to watch. And if he slides, they're going to jump on that. So I give Christian Humphreys 3.5 stars.
Christian Humphreys comes in at number 75 on our top 80 NHL draft rankings.